A single moment shattered the illusion of calm in the manicured quiet of Willow Creek, where lawns were trimmed to perfection and HOA emails outnumbered personal conversations. Mark Thompson, a 42-year-old Marine veteran, lived a simple life with his son, Ethan, in this Florida suburb. A widower since his wife's passing 4 years prior, Mark's days revolved around his mechanic job and his 13-year-old son, who had cerebral palsy. With his bright smile and relentless spirit, Ethan found joy in small victories, like steering his red RC car across the driveway. But on one Sunday morning, their peaceful routine was upended by a man who wielded fake authority and unleashed a chain of events that would spark heated debates. The sun beat down as Mark pushed the lawnmower, sweat soaking his shirt. Ethan sat cross-legged on the driveway, his RC car zipping in tight circles. Each turn brought a laugh, a rare sound that made years of physical therapy worth it. Mark glanced at his son, pride swelling in his chest. Then, a white SUV with amber lights flashing unnecessarily rolled into the cul-de-sac. It wasn't a neighbor's car. Out stepped a man in his mid-50s, tall, with a navy tactical vest emblazoned with HOA compliance. No name tag, just dark sunglasses and a swagger that screamed control. This was Carl Jenkins, a stranger who moved like he owned the street. Without a word, Carl marched toward Ethan, his boots nearly crushing the RC car. "Get off the sidewalk!" he barked, voice sharp and impatient. Ethan froze, hands hovering over the controller. "I'm just playing," he stammered. Carl didn't wait. In one swift motion, he grabbed Ethan's shirt and yanked him up. Ethan's crutches clattered to the ground, and before he could steady himself, Carl shoved him. The boy stumbled, knees buckling, and hit the pavement hard. His gasp cut through the air. Mark dropped the mower, the engine choking to a stop. He sprinted across the lawn, heart pounding, as Ethan curled up, clutching his scraped elbow. Tears glistened in the boy's eyes, not just from pain, but from confusion. "I'm here, buddy," Mark whispered, kneeling beside him. "You're safe." But when he looked up, Carl stood there, arms crossed, tapping his vest like it justified everything. "He was loitering," Carl muttered, barely glancing at Mark. "Public sidewalk." The words didn't register. Mark's mind reeled, piecing together the scene. A grown man, no badge, no authority, had just assaulted his disabled son. Carl was an HOA. He was nobody. Yet he stood there, smug, as if Ethan were the problem. Something snapped in Mark, not rage, but a cold, focused resolve. He stood, eyes locked on Carl. "You're not with the HOA," he said, voice low. "You're just pretending." Carl smirked. "I'm what this place needs." The arrogance, the dismissal of Ethan as a kid like that, lit a fuse. Mark guided Ethan to the garage entrance, ensuring he was safe. Then, without a word, he stepped inside. His Glock 19 sat in a locked case, a relic of his military days, untouched until now. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about protection. What if Carl came back? What if another child were next? Mark entered the code, the metal cool in his hand. He stepped back into the sunlight. Carl hadn't moved, still radiating defiance. When he saw the gun, his smirk faltered, but only for a second. "Step away from my son," Mark said, finger off the trigger, barrel pointed down. Carl laughed, a dry, mocking sound. "You won't do anything." Mark took one step forward. That was enough. He raised the Glock steady, aimed at Carl's chest. The air thickened, the world narrowing to this moment. Carl's hand twitched toward his vest, a subtle move, but to Mark, it screamed threat. He'd seen it before, in combat, where hesitation costs lives. 2 shots rang out, precise, controlled. The first staggered Carl, the second dropped him. He hit the ground, groaning, hands clutching his side. 2 ribs broken, no vital organs hit, just enough to stop him. Neighbors poured out, phones in hand, screams piercing the air. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mark placed the Glock on the driveway, slid open, and sat beside Ethan. His son's small hand gripped his wrist. They waited, silent, as the world erupted around them. Police swarmed the scene, cuffing Mark as procedure demanded. But the truth was already surfacing. Doorbell cameras and phone videos captured everything: Carl's aggression, Ethan's fall, and Mark's warning. Officers recognized Carl, a fraud who'd been ousted from another community for impersonating security. Neighbors corroborated Mark's story, their footage undeniable. Harold Grayson, a retired judge 2 doors down, called the district attorney. Within 48 hours, charges against Mark were dropped. Carl faced felony assault, impersonation, and harassment. His plea deal: 4 years probation, counseling, and a lifetime ban from enforcement. A desperate lawsuit against Mark was dismissed outright. The story exploded online. Clips of Ethan's fall and Mark's calm resolve went viral, sparking debates. Was Mark a hero or a vigilante? Did he go too far, or was Carl's threat justification enough? Talk shows dissected the ethics. Social media split into camps. Mark declined most interviews, speaking only once on his porch, Ethan by his side. "I didn't want this," he said, voice steady. "But when someone hurts your kid, a kid who's fought harder than most, you don't freeze. You act." Ethan's words hit harder. Asked if he felt safe, he looked at his father and said, "Dad saved me." The simplicity broke through the noise. For Mark, it wasn't about headlines. It was about Ethan, who returned to therapy with renewed strength, walking farther each day. Willow Creek changed quietly. Neighbors waved more, asked about Ethan, left casseroles. The sidewalk where it happened became a silent reminder. Justice, when it arrived, stood tall. But the questions linger. Was Mark right to pull the trigger, or should he have waited for police? Where's the line between protection and escalation? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Mark's actions were justified, or did he cross a line? Share your take on when force is fair in defense of family. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories that spark real talk. Let's keep the conversation going.